Hello everyone. We were discussing about OOPS concepts previously, and we were towards the last part of exception handling and templates. And with regards to template, it is basically template means we can create generic classes where we will be able to hold different type of data. For example, if you can think about a template for a linked list or a double linked list for in any type of languages. For example, in template, there is a C++ template class like vector in C++. There's a template class like list in C sharp. Maybe we have already used that sort of a templates here. Maybe I can show you some of the templates which we actually used. Probably just a minute. Just go above. It was actually here. So let me reiterate it. See, we have actually used vector here. So probably let me try. It was actually here. Let me go to some of the samples. Interest. Just a minute. It was somewhere here. TD was see this. Okay, so this is a vector sample where it's a list where we actually store numbers, integer, list of integers. We can have any sort of things here. We can have float, or you can have any sort of things like user defined data type, which is up to you to decide on what sort of things which you need to hold data. Okay, so these type of things are actually called generic classes. Vector is basically nothing but a list. Similar to that, you can see something in C sharp as well. See this, if you go to C sharp, there also you can see something similar to that. There's something related to a template class like list. See this. Okay, so this is actually in C sharp. Okay, list integer. So you can have any type of classes here, including user defined, let's say person class, like that. You can define it. Okay, now regarding exceptions, exceptions are commonly used using whatever sort of things, whatever problems which is happening inside a code, then you will be able to throw exceptions. Okay, let's say if some sort of a problem occurs inside a routine, then we can define exceptions like this. Okay, like you can define it here like try, and you can have catch routine. Okay, so likewise try and catch routine like this. Okay, so this is a generic exception. This is CHCH. Okay, CHCH catch. This is a generic generic expression of a try catch routine. Okay, so likewise maybe let me check. Okay, so some sort of an error is if this happened, then it will automatically come to this catch routine. So likewise you will be able to develop your own user defined exception handlers as well. That's it's just for information. I'm just telling you, this is just for a peripheral of what sort of things which is actually possible using these sort of object oriented programming languages. So that's just we want to mention all these sort of things. This is what is basically exception is all about. Similar things you can do it in C sharp as well as in Python. Okay, so I'm just not going to more into these details. Just to have basic idea or sort of things. Just telling you all these things. Okay, so if you want to discuss more in detail, then you can go through different type of lot of video tutorials are actually available there in the internet and YouTube, which will demonstrate all these things. Okay, so now let's take the programming library and frameworks. So take the case of programming library and frameworks. So what do you mean by a library and framework? So there are a lot of predefined ready-made libraries and which contains a lot of methods and routines which is already available for different type of languages as well as frameworks. Some of the C++ libraries which is available is actually basically Microsoft Foundation class. It's a Qt C++ libraries are actually libraries. These are all user interface libraries. Some Microsoft and Qt based libraries have user interface libraries, and there are a lot of standard template libraries which will have something like a vector sort of things, vector classes, and sort of a lot of standard template libraries are C++ libraries are the same is the case with Boost. There are a lot of libraries, open source. Boost is basically an open source library. So a lot of free libraries are actually library which is having a different type of utilities, including networking utilities are there, then data structure utilities are there, I mean classes are there, a lot of things are actually available. Okay, similarly you can have C# libraries, which is basically .NET framework libraries, commonly .NET framework libraries, or can be nowadays it can be latest .NET Core libraries, which is actually built into this .NET framework. And there are WinForms libraries which is actually used to create Windows. Same is the case with WPF. WPF is another type of technology, desktop technology, where you will be able to create different flexible UIs. Okay, so nowadays a lot of device related embedded systems use, or device related applications use WPF as well. Okay, as the front end. Okay, and internally it might be connecting it to the backend, or to the different type of devices. Okay, so we have a recent project here that also actually the front end is a device project, but the front end is actually developed in WPF, and the back end is actually used to communicate using C++. And we created on top of C++ create a C# cluster where it's used to call this call from the WPF front end. Okay, UI front end. Similarly, we have a lot of frameworks like ASP.NET which used to, and ASP.NET Core which used to develop web applications. Okay, Xamarin and Maui is actually the framework used to develop mobile applications, and Signaler and Secretary sort of frameworks are actually used for real-time messaging. Okay, so we have libraries like that for Python libraries as well. PyAuto GUI will be used for automation. Ticketon is another type of UI framework. NumPy is used for maths related stuff. TensorFlow is actually for AI related stuff. Django is for Django, and Flask actually for web frameworks. Okay, so likewise a lot of other frameworks are also available. Just listed a few of them. Those who are interested can go through a lot of things. Whatever you think about, most of the time there will be a library. Okay, whatever concepts or whatever subjects which you actually studied, probably in computer science subjects, for say, let's say graphics or data structure or database or networking or any sort of library, what you think about, whatever things you want, there will be a library or a framework available. Okay, so that's what the normal use case. So so let's try discuss about a few more things regarding software architecture. Okay, so what do you mean by software architecture? It's a high level structure of software systems defining components, interactions, and design principles. Okay, so when you design a system, probably you might be getting initially the user requirements, and based upon the user requirements you will be developing a high level architecture of the system, and you might be sending it to the customer for review, and the customer will be coming back with the probably customer might come back with a lot of responses with regards to the architecture. Then once you finalize the architecture, then high level architecture, then you might be going for the other architecture like low level architecture and other things. And there is something called design patterns, which is reusable solutions to common design problems used within the architecture to address specific functionality. For example, MVC, singleton, MVVM. So whatever, let's say once we have the architecture in place, then we might be thinking about other things like design patterns, where these sort of patterns are tested and proven to be working in the market. For example, MVC is actually used in it's a common web framework. Okay, web pattern which is used in web application development. Singleton is a pattern which used to create only single instance applications. Okay, single instance objects. Okay, so that's called a singleton pattern. And there are a lot of things, other design patterns like MVVM, which normally we are actually used nowadays in mobile application development, especially with the Xamarin and Maui, as well as in WPF as well. Okay, so these sort of things are actually there. for design patterns. And this is a plugin framework is a modular software architecture using design patterns to enable extensible standard plugin interactions. So what do you mean by plugin framework? Plugin framework is another set of framework where you don't need to, let's say if you want to develop a feature, then let's say the customer shipped into the market a new product, and let's say if he want to develop a new feature, he don't need to necessarily recompile the whole software, add new feature, and then recompile the whole software and ship it into the market. That may not be it might be time consuming and may not be economical as well. So what people comes with is a framework called a plugin framework, where you will be able to have, in the software there's an architecture called plugin architecture, where we will have, once this is done, then we don't need to recompile the whole source base. You can create a small module, let's say a DLL module as a plugin, then you can add into the system. Okay, so that sort of an architecture is called plugin architecture. So if you see almost all the standard softwares right now in the market, for example MS Office like MS Word or Excel or PowerPoint, or even for the Visual Studio, or for any standard software for that matter, there will be support for adding plugins. Okay, so another common example is actually there's something called a Eureka Sim. This is again is plugin based architecture. So let me show you that. So let's say in case of a Eureka Sim, you can see there are a lot of plugins are actually available, which you can independently attach it to the system. For example, this Polygon Crystal setup is a plugin. My CCP adding setup is again another plugin. So if you want can see that these sort of plugins are actually here. If you want to unload it, just simply uncheck it. So this is actually basically a DLL. See this, okay? And my CPP is again another DLL. So if you want to unload it, just untick it, and then once you close it and load it, then these two tabs may not be there. Okay, so let me show you that. Okay, let me load it. Let me load it. See, when you load it, the tabs are actually good. So that means that you can independently develop the separate components as DLLs. Then you will be able to add into the system. Of course, you need to adhere to a standard plugin specifications, which is actually underlining in their SDK. Okay, so if you want to know more about the details and other stuff, so maybe you can go to the site. Almost everybody is actually providing SDK. We are also providing, Eureka Sim is also providing SDKs. For example, Eureka Sim SDK. Just search in Eureka Sim SDK. You can see the SDKs here. Okay, you can see the SDKs which is actually distributed in GitHub. Using this SDK, you will be able to develop your own plugins. Okay, you develop your own plugins. There are a lot of SDK and the sample applications are actually available. Using this SDK, you will be able to develop your own solutions. And most of the applications also provide some sort of a add-in wizard generated code as well. So this is another add-in wizard interface where you will be able to develop plugin boilerplate code. Okay, from which you will be able to add it. So that sort of provision. So plugin can be developed in C++, C# as well as VB.NET and Python. Okay, so these provisions are actually there. So that is what plugin framework is all about. Okay, now so I'm just already mentioned about the Eureka Sim case study. So it's basically a scientific and engineering simulation software, and this application framework was actually developed using C++, Visual C++, MFC ATL. These are all libraries, standard libraries available in Visual C++, and component object model core. Then the graphics part is actually developed using the OpenGL framework, OpenGL libraries, and OpenMP is another parallel processing module. Multiple we will be able to take advantage of multiple processes. Then GDI is another graphics technology where you will be able to develop different type of user interfaces for the software. And we have DirectX also. You have used DirectX for different other modules, and we obviously already use plugin framework for that. And develop API, you have SDKs available. Okay, so you can develop the plugins can be developed using C++, C# and Python. And Eureka Sim API is already available. I already mentioned that is actually there in this site. Okay, and you as an intern or as a developer, you will be able to develop some plugin samples in C++, C# and Python using Eureka Sim and AI tools. And probably might be if you are joining it as an intern, or you might be giving you internship task. Okay, for Eureka Sim SDK, what you need to do is fork your custom SDK to your GitHub account, develop sample plugin samples, then give a pull request to the main your custom GitHub repository. So that's the way we develop the plugins for your custom. And you as an intern, you will be receiving your custom plugin developer certificate, and share you can share the certificate link link in LinkedIn, or you can update in your resume with the GitHub and the certificate link. Okay, so that's it. That's it regarding the basic introduction to C++ C#. In the next video, then we will show you how to organize the things, organize the different source files, and how we will be able to add it to the GitHub. Okay, thank you.